Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. There were chants for Daniel Levy to get out of our club. Was the chants. Antonio Conte throwing out lengthy hypocritical statements after the game, just while making sure everyone knew that, pretty much he was saying, I had informed everyone last summer that it was going to be rubbish. So thank you, Antonio. Yes, thank you. That's it's not good. It's really not good at all. I think probably the most miserable performance of the season. I think some people might say this about this video afterwards. But yeah, it was dross. It was absolute rubbish. And the trouble is when he started his press conference yesterday, eventually, we're going to talk about that later, he kind of spent the opening section praising the team and their efforts. And I'm just sitting there kind of going like, no, Antonio, no, stop. But yeah, I tell you, I'll read the quotes, and this is where, for everything else that's being said, and we're going to come to a lot of that, the chants and everything, Antonio Conte has to take, and the players, but Antonio Conte has to take a portion of the blame. I get the impression he's a guy that maybe doesn't like the finger being turned towards him, and doesn't. He's one of those, well, if it's my fault, I'm off, kind of thing, which he's trying to do against Burnley last season. It's like one of those guys that's like, oh, if you don't like my game, I'm taking my ball with me and I'm going home. I get the impression he is a little bit like that. Yeah, but he's got to, because Spurs they just didn't look like a team that had a plan. They didn't look like a team that knew how to attack a team that defends deep. And how many times have we said that about Tottenham in the past? This is not even exclusive just to this manager either. Look, Conte's going to have a lot of fans still behind him. And I think rightly so, because of what he did last season. It was a really terrific turnaround. And I think, his past obviously also dictates a certain degree of, well, a lot of respect really for his past as well. But yeah, so I think he'll have these fans behind him. And I think even more so if this January transfer window becomes frustrating as it drags on. But what I would say is the more painful performances we all have to watch, and yesterday afternoon was right up there among them, I think the more attention is going to be turned to Hawk. But I don't get it. And I think the biggest issue for me was this felt like one of those games that comes towards the end of a manager's reign. And that's the most worrying thing. It felt, I've seen these under Poch, I've seen them under Jose Mourinho, definitely saw them under Nuno. These games where there's no set plan on the pitch. You can't see what they're trying to do. They don't look joined up. They don't look like they know how to get the ball towards the opposition area. Some players maybe appear to be giving a bit more than other players. And that worries me slightly. That's when the vultures start to circle. And honestly, I would be stunned, especially if they don't get a result or something decent at Palace in midweek, especially when you look at it. I know you've got the FA Cup, but then you've got Arsenal, Arsenal, City, Fulham, then City again, isn't it? I would be stunned if we don't. This is the period where we don't start getting training is boring. Conte is overworking players. A fractured dressing room. There's discontent about his tactics. Because what happens in these periods is you get, let's say, it's not usually the players themselves, but it's the people around unhappy fringe players that aren't getting a shot. Suddenly, those little things leak and emerge, and maybe sometimes they're exaggerated, sometimes they're true. But you'll see it, honestly. You'll know this. Every single manager on their way out in the weeks before, and I'm not saying Conte's on his way out, just in case people are saying that, but I'm just saying this felt like one of those games. I think my biggest issue with it all, and I've said this before, but it felt even more so yesterday, is that he harps on, Conte, about people having patience, understand the process. And he even said yesterday, like, I have to wait, we have to wait. And he just seems utterly bewildered that the fans and the media might not share that same thinking. Yet he shows absolutely no indication whatsoever that he wants to stick around and show that patience that he's preaching to everyone else. I think that's my biggest issue with it. Every given opportunity Conte has to speak about his long-term future, beyond next summer, it just swerves away from the topic, or even worse, uses that overused line of, we'll find the best solution for everybody. He just acts like a man... He does. He's calling for time and patience for everyone around him when the results aren't going well, or performances of his team aren't great. Yet he never gives the air of a person that actually has that patience himself, which is obviously, like I said earlier, is hypocritical. It does. He creates this air of a man who's just waiting for a better opportunity to arise at times. A club with a vacancy that has a shorter pathway, a quicker pathway to silverware. And I've said this before, but I find it baffling that a man with his incredible coaching qualities, I think he is a terrific training ground coach as well, yet all the talks constantly of ready-made signings and players being able to play here and now, and it's the job of the academy to develop players for him who are ready, not for him to play his part in that development. It sounds like a computer gamer who can't complete that new game they've bought without having the cheat codes. It's like playing Football Manager with an editor where you pump in 500 million into it and up your levels of levels of the club so that big players will sign for you. It's like playing everything on a cheat mode. And I think he's better than that. I don't think that has to be his go-to thing. So essentially Conte is saying, who knows, by March we could be 16th or worse. Look, no, I get it. I'm being flippant. I get what he means. They've got to sort it out. They can't just think that they can coast through matches or that everything will be all right. They have to fight and work hard. I know what he's saying. But yeah, it really is. Oh, the stuff after the game. It was so much stuff that just felt like, listen to a lot of the things you're saying. I get what you're trying to say, but please have also some accountability yourself as well.